This is television's most action-packed hour. It's Super Trax, featuring the superstars of monster truck racing in side-by-side competition. Outlaw, Crusher, Bigfoot, and more coming your way. But there's a lot of other action, including the earth-shaking, multi-engine, modified tractors hooking to the sled and looking for the full pull today on Super Trax. You'll see all the world's greatest multi-engine tractors going for another big victory. And then Super Trax gets down and dirty. Side-by-side mud racing. They'll try to go as fast as they can in 80 feet, then shut them down in 80 feet. Today on Super Trax. Same high quality. Hi again, everyone. Scott Douglas with you on Super Trax for all the thrills and excitement of the best in U.S. Hot Rod Association, monster truck action, pulling action, mud racing, and lots more. You're going to see it all today, beginning with the qualification round for our monster trucks. And another great crowd of monster truck fans on hand to cheer for their favorites as we'll jump right in to the time trials that'll set the brackets for our side-by-side elimination competition coming up a little later. And we begin with the original monster truck out of St. Louis, Missouri. It's Andy Brass and the Bigfoot Ford. Again, right now, just setting time, and these times will determine who races who when the brackets are set by the U.S. Hot Rod Association officials in competition today. Also, very important in terms of points qualifying and in terms of lane choice. As the day goes on, if one lane's better than the other, the faster qualifier gets the choice. Bigfoot lays down a shot for him to go after as Andy Brass picks him up and sets him down. You can see the great start at the line by the Bigfoot Ford, and no problem getting over the cars, although he didn't get the kind of air we're used to seeing Bigfoot get. That was not an especially quick run. The time, 2.16 seconds for the Bigfoot Ford. We'll have to see how that stands up as some of the other top monster trucks come after the Big Ford from St. Louis. It's Chevrolet time as John Kwasniewski, Johnny K, out of Lackawanna, New York, brings out the Buffalo Tremor Chevrolet. And the time to beat, 2.16 seconds to beat fast qualifier. Thumbs up for the Buffalo Tremor. And Kwasniewski hit pretty hard at the end of the cars, but in good shape. The Buffalo Tremor looking pretty good on the replay. Got a lot of air off the launch. His time will come in right now at 2.16 seconds, the exact same time as Bigfoot. We now look at the record. Mike Beeler will lay down his qualifying shot. He names his truck the Wrecker because that's what he does for a living, a shop foreman and head mechanic for Phil Franchi Wrecking. So it's natural that his monster truck would be called the Wrecker. Mike Beeler needing to beat a time of 2.16 to be the fast qualifier today on Super Trax. And the run completed successfully. It's a legal run for the Wrecker. Did not look like he got an especially good launch. We'll check his time, but it did not look like a very quick one for the Wrecker and Mike Beeler. Coming in, the time to beat was 2.16. The Wrecker's time is 2.42. Beeler now sits third fastest. Out of Hagerstown, Maryland, the big black Ford of Mike Botters. This is the Black Stallion, one of the top 4 trucks in monster truck action on the U.S. Hot Rod Association. We get a thumbs up from Mike Botters as he's ready to go and puts the Black Stallion in gear. He'll now look for the green light and showtime. That's our best looking run so far. A little bit quicker than what we've been seeing from the other trucks thus far. Botters got off the line in great shape, and you can see his launch was strong. He gets down to the end of the cars and has a little momentum to finish. It's a good-looking run from Mike Botters and the Black Stallion Ford. He now has the fast time at 2.02 seconds. But here comes one of the best Chevrolets in the entire world. out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. Gary Porter brings out the Carolina Crusher. The time to beat is 2.02 for Porter's Carolina Crusher, and Gary is known as an outstanding qualifier. He'll try to lay down the fast shot right here. And there's no doubt in my mind he's got it. A great run, a super shot for Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. Watch the launch. Way up the ramp, gets a lot of air, but not too much to cost him any time, and he comes down in great shape. The Carolina Crusher, fast qualifier at 1.94 seconds. So now they go after the Chevrolet out of North Carolina. Gary Porter, 1.94, the fast time in the Carolina Crusher. Rob Fuchs in the First Blood Ford, hailing from Woodstock, Illinois, will come after it next. And he doesn't really sound very good. First Blood pulls to the line. He'll need to get a good launch and get off the line in great shape if he's going to beat the Crusher. Problems there for First Blood. Something went away as soon as he tried to lay down the hammer. I don't know if we'll be able to detect anything from the replay, but there was just nothing there. Watch, he starts, and that's it. Immediately, everything just locked up on him, and First Blood, you can stick a fork in the Ford. It's done for today. It's a disqualification, and he'll not be included in the upcoming monster truck races. Well, we go down south for this Chevrolet out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Here's Bennett Clark and the Clydesdale Chevrolet. That's the Chevy sitting on top, the Carolina Crusher at 1.94. The Ford, the Black Stallion, is second at 2.02. So we'll see the Clydesdale get in that mix right now. Bennett Clark ready to go. And the Clydesdale successfully lays down his run. We'll watch it on the replay. And note that the nose kind of dives into the midsection of the cars, and that would tend to indicate the run's not going to be quite as quick as the Clydesdale had hoped for. It's 2.11. Not bad, but not at the top of the heap today. Clydesdale at 2.11. Well, we go back to the Ford camp now as Nick Rossi takes the steel, cold eyes of the Outlaw out of the pits and onto the track. It's the Outlaw Ford from Pensacola, New Jersey. Rossi needing to beat the 1.94 if he wants to take the top qualifying spot today. Mighty fine-looking run. Oh, he really had to get on the binders at the end. It was a good-looking run, almost too good-looking at the end, because he barely shut it down in time to avoid the wall. Nick Rossi and the Outlaw, the second fastest qualifier today with a time of 1.99. Only the second driver to get it under 2 seconds in this qualification round of monster truck action. But the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet's on top. Gary Porter at 1.94, fast time today. Then two Fords, the Outlaw and the Stallion. Clydesdale, the Chevy at number 4. Bigfoot, a disappointing 5th in qualifying. The Buffalo Tremor shows 6th, and Wrecker is 7th. Remember, First Blood DQs, so 7 will go into our first round of competition. Excitement continues on Super Trax. We take you now to the fabulous Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan for exciting U.S. Hot Rod Association mud racing. And this time it's not just one at a time, side-by-side mud racing. Now keep in mind they're still racing against the clock, but the competitors tend to take it up a notch when they look over in the other lane and see actual competition. Each lane will provide 2 of our finalists in our Fast Four shootout later. That's to keep things fair. You've got to finish in the top 2 on your lane. The basics of mud racing, you've got 80 feet to cover the distance in the mud pit, then you've got 80 feet to shut it down. If the competitor runs into the banners at the bottom of your screen, that's the disqualification mark, and they are DQ'd right off the bat, and the run is complete. The Bone Digger just busts through the banners, and oh, he's into the wall. I do not know what happened. He was completely stopped. The run on the other side, the Blue Ribbon Bandit did fine. I don't know what happened to the Bone Digger. He came through. Let's see if we can see at the end of the run. It is a run of 2.529 for the Blue Ribbon Bandit on the right side of your screen. But the Bone Digger was stopped, and then maybe the throttle stuck or the brakes failed, but indeed he hits the wall a ton, and it'll be a DQ. 2.529 is the time for the Blue Ribbon Bandit. All right, Chad Miller's Instant T is closest to you. And then we get the Time Traveler. That's Bud Thompson in the lane to the right-hand side of your screen as you're facing the screen at home. Instant T and Time Traveler, you're trying to get in the Fast 2 on your lane as we develop this competition. In essence, the Fast 4 is the shootout. Good-looking time for Instant T. He shut down in time. So did the Time Traveler. We'll look at him again, and it's a good time, especially for the Instant T, it appears, as he comes through in great shape. Boy, you can see he got a nice true read. No ruts get in the mud. It didn't kick him. And Chad Miller's Instant T has a solid run of 1.954 seconds. That is clearly the time to beat. Time Traveler with a good time at 2.044, but it's going to be hard to see that one making it into our shootout a little bit later. Well, the American-made vehicle is coming closest to you. American-made will be up next in the left-hand lane. I say left as you're facing the screen. That's the way we'll call the action for you here today on Super Trax. And then over on the right-hand side of the screen, Tony Fiorat, who's one of the best in the business in Let's Boogie. Tony comes out of Canton, Michigan. American-made and Let's Boogie. Both of them with solid runs. Oh, but it'll be a DQ as American-made cannot stop in time. In the meantime, Let's Boogie's got a dandy run, and it'll be the fastest so far today at the Pontiac Silverdome. Let's Boogie, 1.869. American-made is DQ'd, but Let's Boogie now has the time to beat. Closest to you, Steve Bellis and Wild Side. Farthest away from you, Gary Cook. There's Cook's unusually shaped mud racer, kind of a modified wedge, I guess, if you will. And then the tubular paint job or paint scheme of the Wild Side and Steve Bellis. They're ready to go against the clock. 1.869 is our best time so far. Wild Side with a good shot, and he stops in time. Gary Cook did not get a great run in, quite a bit slower than the run set down by the Wild Side and Steve Bellis. Here we go again, and actually, Cook got the better hole shot. But the Wild Side came on gangbusters and then stops in time before hitting that DQ boundary. It'll be a 2.018 for Wild Side. That's a good shot. 2.982 for Gary Cook. Not going to be enough to put him into the Fast 4 later here on Super Trax. All right, Tom Meets will be closest to you in Shake Me. Tim Finch and Bushwhacker will be farthest away from your screen or from the camera right now as the kids having a good time in the Pontiac Silverdome, trying to make sure they don't get no mud kicked up on them. Pulling to the starting line. A good shot right there for Tom Meets and Shake Me. Bushwhacker never got going, had a terrible run at 3.703. But watch Shake Me closest to you. Tom Meets has a super run going. As a matter of fact, it's the best run of the day. The time, 1.724, and Tom Meets with Shake Me, at least at this point, would look to definitely be one of the Fast 4 we'll have coming back in the U.S. Hot Rod Shootout later on. All right, that's Len Brink closest to you, and now you're looking at Mark Watros and the Team Rancho machine. Team Rancho and Mark Watros out of Lansing, Michigan. 1.724 is the best time we've seen in the Detroit mud. Pontiac Silverdome. Boy, they came across the line very close together. Watros actually had a bit of an edge, and the Team Rancho machine lays down a shot that might be good enough to get him in to the Fast 4, the shootout later on. Watros and Team Rancho at 1.903. That may be a time to reckon with as the day goes on. Len Brink a little slower at 2.168. Still, Tom Meets and Shake Me has the best time. Now remember, the fastest two from each lane will come back in the shootout, and that's just to make it fair in case one lane proves to be faster than the other. To tell you the truth, we really haven't seen that. Both lanes have given some pretty quick times so far. Dragonfly, Jim Horvath closest to you. T-Ray in T's new toy, the bright orange vehicle across the screen from you. Oh, Oh, T-Ray went off course and smashed down the finish line pole. That's an automatic disqualification for completely leaving the mud pit. He's DQ'd right there. There you see it. He left the mud pit. That's a DQ. So T-Ray out of Louisville, Kentucky is disqualified. A good run for Jim Horvath, the Dragonfly, at 1.984. Unfortunately, that is only third best in this lane, so Dragonfly won't be coming back. In this closest lane to us, 1.724 of Shake Me and 1.954 of Instant T are the best times so far. On the other side, it's Let's Boogie at 1.869, Team Rancho at 1.903. Rick Mom is closest to you, screaming for vengeance farthest away. You got to lay down a good shot at this point. And it looks like another disqualification is screaming for vengeance. Leaves the lane right there. Absolutely ran out of his lane, and that'll be another disqualifier. And it looks like something about this lane, about the lane that right now as you face the screen is on your right-hand side, is kicking everything to the middle. At the end of the run, the Mudders are having a hard time staying in their lane. The Mud Shark and Mike Erdelli is up. He'll be in the lane closest to your TV camera, and Expect No Mercy will be across from him. For Mud Shark, he'll have to get under a 1.954 to make it into the Fast Four. Out of that lane, you got to beat a 1.903 on the other side where Expect No Mercy is. Hanging on, and indeed, the Mud Shark with a super run gets it shut down in time. The run again is a dandy, and the Mud Shark absolutely blazes a trail. You can see the DQ on the right-hand side of the screen. Expect No Mercy left the pit on the other side, knocking out the finish pole. But look at that. The fastest time so far is the Mud Shark at 1.691. So now it looks like Mud Shark and Shake Me coming out of the lane closest to you, and it's still Let's Boogie and Team Rancho from the lane farthest away. The Mud Mouse and Papa Smurf this time. Tim Fawns in the Mud Mouse, John Herzog out of Carlinsville, Illinois, and Papa Smurf. They really have to lay down some shots to make it into the shootout. Well, I haven't seen the reading on the clock yet, but I can tell you, and Papa Smurf's just going to go on through as well, and that'll be a DQ. I can tell you Mud Mouse clearly did not look to have a time that's going to make it into the Fast Four shootout. Matter of fact, the Mud's really starting to rut a little bit. That lane kicked him a little bit to the side. Even though the Mud Shark got a good fight, it looked like Mud Mouse had a whole bunch of problems, and his time of 2.255 not going to be enough. It will be the Budweiser King on your screen right now. This is Jeff Corbett. He's in the far lane. Closest to you is Muscles, and Muscles. Jeff Bridge coming out in the Muscles machine. He's got his work cut out for him. He's got to get under a 1.724 to make it in our shootout if the Muscles machine's going to get it done. Jeff Reiner and Muscles. Whoa, hold on. The Budweiser King left his lane. That's going to be another DQ. And once again, watch the lane on the right-hand side of the screen. It's throwing everybody way off near the end. He also rams into the pole and leaves the lane. And I'll tell you, anybody who drew into that right-hand side late in this competition got a terrible break with virtually no chance to make it. Sometimes that's the conditions. As they say, that's racing. Those guys are out, but here's who's alive. The Mud Shark, Shake Me, Let's Boogie, and Team Rancho. Those four mudders will make it into the Silver Dome shootout on Super Trax. We're back at the Spectrum, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for first round action with the U.S. Hot Rod Superstars of Monster Truck Racing. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas calling the action as Carolina Crusher's going to get a bye run. Then a battle of Fords, Black Stallion against Bigfoot. Clydesdale comes back to take on the Wrecker, and the Outlaw Ford, an impressive qualifier today, will take on the Buffalo Tremor Chevrolet. Right off the bat, you see the original monster truck, Andy Brass, bringing out the Bigfoot Ford, and he is going to take on the Black Stallion. This ought to be a dandy matchup. Mike Botters of the Black Stallion from Hagerstown, Maryland. Andy Brass, the Bigfoot Ford from St. Louis, Missouri. They're at the starting line. First round competition. Showtime. Boy, It is just not Bigfoot's day. Oh, and boy, the Black Stallion had a rough landing. But Bigfoot just is not having a good day, as the Bigfoot Ford is clearly beaten by Black Stallion. Oh, look at him come off the ground. Hopefully nothing injured on the Black Stallion in terms of the chassis, because he really banged it down hard. But give the Black Stallion an upset victory over the Bigfoot Ford. Black Stallion will now head into the semifinal round, where he'll have to take on our fast qualifier, the Carolina Crusher. The Wrecker comes out to go up against Clydesdale. The Clydesdale Chevrolet is Bennett Clark out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Mike Wheeler brings out that big Wrecker, but he's going to need a Wrecker to take him on back, because Clydesdale is advancing. The Clydesdale Chevrolet of Bennett Clark gets a clear-cut victory over the Wrecker. Bennett Clark, with that Clydesdale horse painted on the side of that pink Chevrolet, has put himself in the semifinal round, the Final Four. And now, our second fastest qualifier, Nick Rossi, and the Outlaw Ford closest to you out of Pennsauken, New Jersey, will meet up with the Buffalo Tremor. There you get a look at the Outlaw. Beautiful paint job and the steel cold eyes of the masked man. The Buffalo Tremor, Johnny K, we call him, John Kwasniewski, out of Lackawanna, New York, in the Buffalo area. There's the green flag, showtime, and oh, the Outlaw got caught sitting at the starting line, and the Buffalo Tremor has upset our second fastest qualifier. Whoa, there was a flash of fire from underneath the Outlaw. Something went wrong on the Ford of Nick Rossi, and the Buffalo Tremor has put him away. John Kwasniewski's Buffalo Tremor upsets the Outlaw and will go into our Final Four. So here you saw it. The Black Stallion gets rid of Bigfoot. Carolina Crusher had a bye run, so he'll go into the semis. Then Clydesdale with the win over the Wrecker. Buffalo Tremor upsets the Outlaw. Tremor meets Clydesdale in the semifinal round. And now the crew is surrounding the Outlaw Ford, trying to figure out what went wrong. Super Trax is your ticket back to the Pontiac Silverdome, Pontiac, Michigan. It's time for the shootout in mud racing. You'll remember earlier, we ran them side by side. The fastest two out of each lane, Let's Boogie, Shake Me, Mud Shark, Team Rancho. Those four now come back to divide up the big paychecks, because it's time for the Silverdome shootout on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Tour. They're whooping it up and having a good time right here in the Pontiac Silverdome. So once again, elapsed time will make the difference in determining the winner here on Super Trax. Pulling to the line now and getting ready for the shootout. Final four time. Both competitors inch up to that starting line right now. And we're ready to go with the mud racing shootout here on Super Trax. Wow, super run. Both got great shots. Let's look at it on the replay, and we'll get the times for both. You can see Shake Me closest to you. Kind of spun a little bit at the start, but they came across that finish line together. And here come the times. For Shake Me, on the left-hand side of your screen, 1.837. And for Let's Boogie, Tony Fiore, 1.960. So Shake Me currently sits in the lead. Team Rancho, the farthest away from you. Mark Watros, closest to you. It's the Mud Shark, Mike Girdelli. They pull to the line. The Mud Shark gets right up to where the beam detonates the start. They have a laser beam across the start and across the finish line. That determines your time. And both of them shut down in the safe shutdown zone. They're both legal runs. So the question is, did they beat the times that were previously laid down in those lanes? The Mud Shark and Mike Girdelli trying to beat the 1.837, and he did it. The Mud Shark, 1.723. Watros was in at 1.977. So there's the way they finished. Mud Shark comes away as the winner, 1.723. Then it's Shake Me, Let's Boogie, and Team Rancho rounding out the Silverdome mud racing competition here on Super Trax. Don't go away. We're right back at you. the home of Rocky, the Sixers, the Flyers, and a lot of great sports legends over the years. Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, hosting the Monster Truck Superstars today. We're ready to go into the semifinal round. After the first round of competition, your survivors, Carolina Crusher, he'll meet Black Stallion. Clydesdale, he'll go up against Buffalo Tremor. Interesting to note, Black Stallion, the only Ford left alive. So Mike Botters in the Stallion out of Hagerstown, Maryland, carrying the banners for the Ford crew against these three Chevrolet trucks in the semifinals. Stallion has to take on the fastest qualifier, the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet, Gary Porter out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. One of the best-known figures in monster truck racing today, the veteran Porter against Mike Botters and the Black Stallion. Oh, you saw it right there. The Black Stallion jumped the start. Let's see how they rule that. You can see the U.S. Hot Rod official at the end of the track was just moving his red flag. He never threw the green. Now they're restaging the Black Stallion, or no, they are going to call it. It is a disqualification. They'll send Carolina Crusher by himself, and Gary Porter is handed a victory. That's called red lighting. The Black Stallion jumped the start. They shut him down, and Gary Porter, in essence, is able to get a bye run because of the mistake at the starting line. But you got to feel for Mike Botters and the Black Stallion. Going up against the Carolina Crusher, he knew he was going in as the underdog. And when that happens, you've got to cut that light. You've got to cut that start a little bit finer than the more favored, maybe the more horse-powered truck. Indeed, Black Stallion tried it. He jumped the gun, and it backfired on it. Tell you what we're going to do now is Buffalo Tremor and Clydesdale get together. We're going to go ahead and put the flagman in the corner of your screen so you can see the start. Here we go. When he goes green, Clydesdale and Buffalo Tremor will take off. And Clydesdale comes away with the victory over the Buffalo Tremor. Bennett Clark got a great jump out of the starting gate, and you can see Buffalo Tremor was making up ground at the end. He just got beat out of the hole too badly. And Bennett Clark and the Clydesdale will get a crack at his arch nemesis for many years, Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. These two guys have battled each other in cities all over this country, and for that matter, all over the world. They'll meet again to determine the winner in Philadelphia. Carolina Crusher and Clydesdale are going to settle things, and they're going to do it right now. The Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter from Wadesboro, North Carolina, former runner-up for the World Championship, takes on the Clydesdale Chevrolet and Bennett Clark out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Some of Clydesdale's biggest victories in his monster truck racing career have come against the Carolina Crusher. I'm reminded of a few years ago on the Figure 8 course in Louisville, Kentucky, how Clydesdale was almost a full second behind the Carolina Crusher on that half-mile track, but he made it up and beat Crusher on the final set of cars. Gary Porter knows when he lines up against the Clydesdale, if he backs off one little bit, Bennett Clark will go by him. I expect Porter to really try and hammer it hard from the get-go and take nothing for granted against the Clydesdale. It's showtime in the Monster Truck Finals. Wow, very close at the end. I think Porter got him, but we're going to have to look at the replay. Actually, Clydesdale got out of the hole a little bit quicker, but Crusher made up the difference over the cars. He wins it by about 8 inches. That's the difference in Philadelphia. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, by less than a foot. He crawls out as the champion of the Spectrum, and the Crusher gets another victory. The very popular Gary Porter gets out to where he'll be signing autographs and talking to race fans, and he comes out with a big smile on his face as our winner today here in the Spectrum. So the Carolina Crusher defeats the Clydesdale to take the win in the monster truck action here on Super Trax. But we're not done. Don't go away. When we say Super Trax is television's most exciting hour, we flat mean it. Not only monster trucks, not only great tractor pulling action today, not only great mud racing, but we're also going to show you one of the most incredible motorcycle stunts you'll see anywhere in the world. This is Dennis Pinto, and he calls this the Suicycle stunt. What Pinto is going to do right here for the fans in Anaheim, California, and for you at home on Super Trax is not just a jump. He is going to light himself on fire, and then he is going to make this jump over a van. That's why they call it the Suicycle. Dennis Pinto will be ready momentarily. I'll tell you one thing I can guarantee you. You notice how motorcycle guys and motorcycle jumpers, daredevils, like to tease you a little bit, coming by with practice runs. This guy's not going to do it, because when he comes out, he's on fire. He is going to go one way or the other. Here they go. They have torched him. He's on fire. Dennis Pinto, Suicycle. He jumps off the bike intentionally into the boxes. The fire burning, and now the safety crews are trying to get to. There you see him. He's coming out. They're going through the wrong side of the boxes. The guys with the fire extinguishers are on the other side. Pinto has come out the other way. They found him now, and they're going to get the fire put out. Man, oh man, you talk about a hot seat. Dennis Pinto busted out of the boxes and couldn't find his safety crews. But he's okay. Dennis Pinto, the Suicycle, and the crowd is standing and roaring in Anaheim. Man. Unbelievable run right there as Dennis Pinto, flying through the air on fire. They set off an explosion. He lands burning in a sea of cardboard boxes. Here's the replay. You see, he jumps off that bike right before impact. The momentum slings him into the boxes. Then it's just a matter of getting that safety crew over and putting the fire out. Here you are in the end zone. Look at it again. The momentum throws him through the air, and just a spectacular stunt. What an explosion. He goes through, he completes it successfully, and the safety crews eventually get the fire put out. Dennis Pinto will get the Suicycle ready, and I'm sure find another place in this country to do it again during a U.S. hot rod competition event. Speaking of spectacular competition, did we have it today on Super Trax? Gary Porter with the monster trucks, the Mud Shark and the Mud Racers, and Powell Pulling wins the tractor action. And it's even bigger and better next week. We'll see you right here in 1 week on Super Trax.